when we begin to make up our own minds about things, that is when they lose power and control. Well, if we're really dealing with the kind of people that are doing stuff like that, they're not going to leave it up to chance. They're not going to leave something up to a celestial event if there are people who would want to influence that and understood the power of the collective consciousness. Then if those people wanted control, they would have to put out information out there that people would then ingest and then believe, so that they can create and manifest the reality that they want us to create for them. Hello, thank you for being here and welcome to my channel. I am your host, Alexis Rios. To start off, I want to take a well-deserved moment to express how much gratitude I have for you guys for being here, for returning, and for all the growth that I've been receiving in my channel. I am so grateful for all of you who have taken interest. I have been receiving overwhelming support from you guys since I started this series, and I just want to show to you guys and express to you guys how grateful I am for all the support and for all of the growth and expansion throughout my channel. So thank you guys so much. If this is your first time here, welcome, but I highly recommend you go back to my first video. I'll be posting the link up here to the series. You can click on the first video, why I believe you should be watching the solar eclipse, and there will be several videos after that I highly encourage you to watch so that you get the full picture of what the whole series is about. If you're watching this after April 8th, don't fret. You can still benefit from the information and the energies that are coming through. So keep that in mind and watch the whole series if it feels aligned with you. In this video, I'll be diving deeper into the rabbit hole, explaining the reasons why I believe there's so much negativity about the solar eclipse happening April 8th, and why you should know about it. Also, my next video that I will be posting really early on April 8th will be a channeled guided meditation that will help guide you through an experience that will help you reap the benefits of the wonderful energy that is coming through the solar eclipse, and that will guide you through shifting timelines into one that most benefits you. So be sure to check that out. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So some of you may have heard some information that tells you you shouldn't be watching the solar eclipse. Now, I'm not here to tell you what you should or shouldn't do. I'm simply here to express my belief and what I feel like you should be doing. Now, of course, you make up your own decision about the subject and information, and you go from there. So, we've had many eclipses before. Why would this be any different? Why would people be telling you not to watch the solar eclipse? Well, one of those reasons is that it will affect people who have gotten if you know what I mean. Thanks to YouTube, there's certain things we can't say, so you understand what I mean there. Nothing against whether you've decided to do something like that or not. My belief is that it's not in alignment for me in my life and for people that I care about, but that's just my belief. You can have your own belief. Anyway, that's not important. So people are saying that if you received that liquid from a bottle, that it's going to adversely affect you negatively. Now that very well may be so, but that kind of leads me to the question of, well, if we're really dealing with the kind of people that are doing stuff like that, they're not going to leave it up to chance. They're not going to leave something up to a celestial event that other people could tell them not to watch, that would foil their plans. So because I believe that's the true information within, then that leads me to my next question as to why would they want to stop people? Why is there so much information coming out that wants to stop people from watching the eclipse? To me, that means that there's something that people can benefit from watching the eclipse. I don't know if you guys have ever heard the word called downloads, energetical downloads, or information downloads. If you're watching this channel, you are probably informed in that one way, shape, or form. But to say very quickly, if you don't know what that term means, is basically you're receiving an energetic package that gives you benefits, positive benefits. That's the simplest way I could describe it. If you want to know more, I highly recommend you do some research and check that out for yourself. So, I believe that the energy that's coming through the solar eclipse is for our betterment, is for our benefit. So, I believe you should be watching it if you're in that area, if you can watch it. Now, just because you may not be able to watch it, you might be in a different part of the world, that doesn't mean you can't benefit from the energy coming through. That's why I'm making the meditation in my next video that we'll be posting really early in the morning on April 8th, depending on where you are in the world. In my side of the world, it's really early in the morning. So that's why I believe a lot of the information is coming through, a lot of the controversial information is coming through that are telling people not to watch the solar eclipse. Again, all of that information is ingrained with very heavily with fear. So, you decide for yourself. You be your own judge and decide whether or not that is right for you. If it is, great. If it's not, then also great. I'm simply giving you my beliefs, simply giving you my suggestions. I am spreading this information so people can gain benefit from it. This is why I'm doing these videos. So if it doesn't align with you, click off the video. No harm done. Doesn't bother me. I want the people who align with the information, who believe as I believe, whether it's through their own belief system or through this video right now. I want those kind of people to be watching my YouTube channel. That's who this video is for. So if that's not you, that's okay. No judgment, no offense. Please go find your information somewhere else, and that's okay. But if this doesn't align, continue watching the video. So now we're going to go into the subject of prophecies. Now there's been that word being thrown around very closely and very heavily to the solar eclipse happening this April 8th. So, what do I feel about them? First, I'll start with that. I feel like there are many prophecies that can be accurate and could be true. But when you're dealing with things like alternate realities and shifting timelines, which we'll talk about in a little bit, things can really be shifting. And maybe in the version where this prophecy was given out or spread or written or whatever, things have shifted and changed, more like it you have shifted and changed into a reality where that prophecy no longer means anything because you've shifted into a world or reality that things are different. Maybe there's a different prophecy, but you came from this reality, so that's the prophecy you remember. So with things like that, with premonitions, with future information, with prophecies, it really has to be taken with a grain of salt because things can shift and change. You can make other decisions. You can, let's say someone gave you a prophetic message, said, this is going to happen to you on so-and-so date. There's two very clear versions. One is that person believes it and heads straight to it because they believed it. And two is that person thinks it's trash and that shifts their reality so that it doesn't happen because it's not something they believe. Now, do I believe that the opposite could be true in both situations? For example, they believe it and then it doesn't happen, or they don't believe it and it does happen. Yes, I do believe that there's so many different scenarios to every person's life because everyone is so unique. They need very unique situations to happen in their life for certain outcomes and certain growth and certain paths to take. So keep that in mind about prophecies. Now, talking more pointedly, people are talking about collapse and maybe even war and destruction, even zombie invasions. And I don't give too much energy into that because, well, for one, I don't believe that drastic change like that is really going to happen at this point, because I believe we're past that. I believe we're to a point where we're actually rising and raising in frequency and vibration, heading to a golden age. And there's really not a lot that can stop us. Again, my belief, take it with a grain of salt. You make up your own mind. The last thing I want to say about prophecies is that you have to think about where it's coming from. For example, a lot of people are referencing the Holy Bible. And even though I believe there are certain truths in there, I also feel like there's certain truths that have been twisted, and I also feel like there's totally false information in there on purpose. Again, my beliefs, you decide. But if people are interpreting prophecies from a book that was written by different men at a different time than when the original works of art were being scribed, not only that, 90% of the original information that would have been culminated into what we would call the Bible these days is non-existent, has been pulled out. There's so much information about that. Look up Dead Sea Scrolls, look up missing information in the Bible, and I promise you will get a wealth of information and evidence that will prove that. That's up to you to go dig that up for yourself. But if we're talking about something that could be misinterpreted, a lot of things, the Holy Bible was interpreted from other languages, several other languages even. So there's things like misinterpretations, whether intentional or non-intentional. So there's all these things that there's too many variables that can mean that this prophecy that's being given and understood today could be way different from what the original message was meant to be. I'm sure many of you have heard of the game telephone, where in secret you tell one person a message and everybody goes along spreading the message, and by the time it gets to the last person they share, it's totally different. That's what I believe is what's happening. So you decide. So before I talk about manifestation and timelines, I want to address one simple thing that will help you understand why these two are very important to the information about the solar eclipse. So, everything is energy. If you're here watching my channel, many of you may understand that everything is energy. Physicality is somewhat of an illusion, in my opinion. Why I say somewhat is because what physical objects are is just the molecules moving so quickly, creating the illusion of solidity. So do your own research, figure that out for yourself. But I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about collective consciousness. Why the collective consciousness is so important is because we, as a species, as a people, have something that's called a collective consciousness, which is the consciousness that is of the collective, of all the human race. So if you get all of the collective of the human race to believe something, we manifest that reality into this present now moment reality that we all are experiencing. That's a lot to wrap your head around, especially if this is something you've heard for the first time. Think about it, let it sit there for a while, make up your own mind. Simple as that. Don't believe me, you make up your own mind. So, with that being said, if, and in my belief, this is fact, if there are people who would want to influence that and understood the power of the collective consciousness, then if those people wanted control, they would have to put out information out there that people would then ingest and then believe, so that they can create and manifest the reality that they want us to create for them. Now, if nothing else is a mind-blown moment, That one definitely was. I know it was for me when I first got introduced to that information. So, now we can talk about timelines and manifestation. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, folks. So if you want to know more, I will probably do a video down the line in the future about it. I always allow my intuitive guidance to guide me, my inner knowing to guide me of what's best. I'm sure you will see that come up in my channel sometime in the future. So I kind of already said this before, talking about collective consciousness, but this comes back to they want us to manifest the reality that they want. That's why there's all that fear. And that's why there's all this prophecy being thrown around and misinformation and don't watch the eclipse and all that. Because they understand that this event is a big event in the grand scope of things. Compared to other events in the past, it's a massive shift, it's a massive event. That even though it's not going to be a massive shift that we were going to wake up the next day and there's just going to be nothing but peace and love everywhere. Not like that, but still a massive shift where it's going to really project us into a very similar reality. The reason that all the fear, the reason for all the misinformation is because they want us to believe that and to create it for them. So that when we do create it for them, they can better control us. When we release ourselves from the chains of that control, when we begin to make up our own minds about things, that is when they lose power and control. Now, I've done that for myself, and I always ask you, if you've seen my other videos, you'll know I always ask you to take and receive the information and make up your own mind. I never say believe me. I never say you have to believe this. I always say take it with a grain of salt and make up your own mind. I'm not here to convince you. I'm here to share the information. You have to decide for yourself if that's true for you or not. That's that. Simple as that. So that's why they want us to manifest that reality, is to keep us back in a lower vibration of control and fear. So that brings me to the next part, is talking about timelines. There are so many timelines. Think of it like a sheet of paper, right? And you have the lines and everything. So think about all those lines are a timeline. And you're on this one. Well, we're constantly shifting between timelines. Our life is like a wave. Like I said, a life is like a wave. All energy is always in motion. So we are, in turn, energy. We're always in motion. So when we're living through life, we're always shifting through timelines. Usually it's a small shift, only moving up 1 or 2 and down 1 or 2. And then if we really make a bad choice and stick with it, we can really shift downwards a lot. And if we make a really positive choice and change our reality, like conscious manifestation, then we can really shift upwards. And that's what I want people to do for themselves, is make that shift in their lives so that they shift upwards in timelines. But back to timelines, there are many realities in timelines, and yes, there is a reality in timeline where some of the information being given could very well be a reality. Now that, in my opinion, that's really, really, really far down reality. Is it accessible? Yes. Is it likely for most people to access it, depending on their choices that they make? My belief, not so much, because we've already gone really far up. Not only that, not only humanity as a race, but also Mother Earth and the plants and the animals. Everything that is around us is energy. It all has consciousness. And the majority vote is we want to go up. That's what everything else is saying. Even humans, even though they might not realize it, people want a better future for their loved ones, for their family, for themselves. So collectively, that's what we want, and that's what we're achieving. That leads me to my last topic of this subject, is You align with the frequencies you project. Let me say that again. You align with the frequencies you project. So if you're projecting a frequency of fear, that's going to bring you into that alignment. If you're projecting a frequency of love, which is what I try to embody as much as I can, and even though I feel like I do really good sometimes, I'll be the first to tell you there's a lot of times I really struggle. But that's my mile marker right there. So if you project that frequency of love, that's what you're going to align with. So it's time for you to begin aligning with the vibration and frequency and timeline that you wish to experience. Who wants to experience war? Who wants to experience chaos in a massive negative scale? No one does. So become conscious manifestors. Conscious being because we're always manifesting. So it's whether you're unconsciously manifesting or consciously manifesting. So become conscious manifestors so that you can align with the timeline, vibration, and frequency that you want to experience. And that is my message to you all. Thank you so much for being here. If you really resonate with the information I give out, please consider liking the video and subscribing so that you can be notified when I post another video. Please support me and help me grow. And if you're interested in a session with me, I always provide my website down in the video description so that you can check out my website and see what you think. So there it is, folks. And that concludes this video. Again, thank you so much for being here, and I will catch you in the next video.